There is a woman you cannot forget. She was genuinely warm to be around, yet you left the conversation wanting more from her. You thought about her on the drive home. She didn't do anything obvious. She wasn't the loudest in the room. She didn't even try to impress you. She just had this inner quality, like she had to be somewhere else, like she had something else going on, a whole world that you couldn't access. That quality has a name, and no one really talks about how to cultivate it. Hello beautiful ladies, welcome back. I am Morelia, the founder of Mademoiselle Diaries. I'm here to help you become your most beautiful, elegant, and feminine self. Today we're talking about mystery, a quality that I believe every single woman needs to learn how to cultivate to make her inner world, her life more intriguing. And no, we're not talking about the manufactured kind of mystery, the playing games. We're talking about the kind of mystery that Monica Bellucci or Angelina Jolie, 90s supermodels have, that was just natural and effortless. Stay with me because by the end of the video, you will learn how and why mystery works. And also I'll give you practical ways and how you can cultivate mystery in your dating life, in your relationships, in business, all of that. So why does mystery work? There's this concept called the Zeigarnik Effect. We remember unfinished things far more vividly than completed ones. Think about it. Your favorite books. Initially, you probably don't know, the whole story. You don't know what's going to happen, what the character is going to do, what the romance will look like, and that is what keeps you hooked. You want to keep continuing to read because you want to know the end story, right? But if you read a book and you have all of the information in the first page, chances are you're not going to continue reading the book because you already know everything. That is how mystery works. When there is a sense of mystery, your imagination will start to be at play. And you will start to fill in the gaps that you don't know, the information gaps that you don't have with your own imagination. And the same works with human relationships. When we don't know everything about someone, now that person will live inside our imagination and we'll try to fill in the gaps. We'll start to wonder, what does this person do? What does this person read? What do they eat? We'll start to have all of these questions. Think about the 90s supermodels, all of these women. Till this day, we talk about them. They had this air of mystery, this mystique. And that's because you did not have access to their private inner world. Social media was not a thing back then. So every time you would see them, it would be in red carpets, in runway shows, in interviews. It would be in all of these glamorous settings. They were very selective of how they presented themselves. Now you compare that with the influencer culture where we know exactly what our favorite influencer's morning routine looks like, what they eat, what they read. We know all about it. So there's actually no room for you to imagine. So let's talk about how you can actually cultivate this in 3 practical ways. Number 1, build a life that you don't need to announce. I want you to start being so serious about making your life as beautiful as possible. Fill your leisure time with unique hobbies, with things that you've been meaning to do for the longest time, and really be so immersed and so present in your every single day life that you have no time, no energy to want to document any of it. Now, I'm not saying that documenting a little bit of your life is bad, not at all. I'm just saying that you need to start practicing doing things without the need to have an audience. Just simply having hobbies that are so private to you, hobbies and sacred spaces that nobody has access. That is the difference between actual mystery and manufactured mystery. The manufactured mystery that we see today is all about playing games. It's about deactivating your Instagram every 2 months and then coming back, deleting all your photos, curating everything when you're waiting 3 hours to reply because that person took 2 hours to reply and now you have to play all this game. That is manufactured mystery, and you can genuinely feel the energy. I'm telling you, you can feel the energy. Desperation has a scent. When you're genuinely so in love with your life and you fill it with passions, with hobbies, you will naturally be busy and you don't need to manufacture, texting late or not sharing things on social media, you simply don't have the time to because you're so absorbed in what it is that you're doing. I want to tell you a story that I think will resonate with a few of you ladies because we want to learn how to increase the sense of mystery in dating. One day, this man, he's a very wealthy man, very popular. He's very used to women adapting their schedules around him. One day he meets this woman. This woman catches his eye immediately. He invites this woman a little bit last minute to this very fancy restaurant where his business friends and different couples will be there. This is a kind of restaurant that has wait list. One meal is like $400. He invites her to this restaurant very confidently, like of course she's gonna say yes. Like all the women have said yes so far. This woman, however, declines. She simply replies, "Wednesday nights are reserved for my sewing classes, but thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it." This man is shocked. Like, what do you mean? You decline my invitation to this very expensive and fancy dinner for a sewing class that probably costs $30 a month. Sewing on a Wednesday night over this fancy restaurant where a meal costs $400, he's in absolute shock and he's almost frustrated initially. But beneath this groan is a certain level of fascination and respect for this woman, and he thinks about her all throughout the dinner, asking himself, what kind of woman chooses her sewing class over over the expensive dinner, the status? What kind of woman chooses that? What else is going on in her world that I don't know about? What else is she not telling me? Why do I not have access to this part of her world? This woman, ladies, she has such a full life, and she does not revolve her life around one person. Be it a man, a friend, whatever. She has a whole life to attend to, her own passions, her own hobbies, her own relationship with God, her own family. She has so many different things to attend to. She cannot simply rearrange her entire schedule for a man who asks her out on a date last minute. All of these hobbies, all of these layers, they make you a multi-dimensional person. They can spend months and months with you and they will always find another layer about you because you keep your inner world so sacred. You fill it with a lot of novel experiences, with hobbies, and you're committed to it. I love that it doesn't have to be manufactured, that it simply comes from living a life that you absolutely love. Spend every Sunday really just thinking about what you want to do in your leisure time. How do you want to make your life more interesting to you? Because it can only become interesting to other people if it is interesting to you. Number 2, the art of saying less. Angelina Jolie is a woman who has been speculated about for years and years and years. You know, the whole drama with Brad Pitt, with this man, that man. Yet this woman doesn't give the satisfaction that the audience craves. She doesn't even give the answers. Even when she is misunderstood, she has this courage to be disliked. There's a whole book about that, by the way. I highly recommend the book Courage to be Disliked. But she understands that people's opinions, it's not for her to manage. Certain people will be committed to misunderstanding you, and it is not your job to correct every single time they say something wrong or to, make sure that they know the truth. As long as you know the truth and as long as you know where you stand, you and God, you know where you stand, you don't have to constantly justify every single little thing to other people. You already know who you are. You're already validated by God. Why are you seeking validation and recognition from everyone else? Even if you do receive the validation and recognition from other people, trust me, you will not be fulfilled. And that is what Angelina Jolie understands. I want you to watch this clip where the journalist asks, why aren't you giving the answers that the audience wants? It can stop all of this gossip. And look at her response. It's so badass.
Why not just say what's going on so nobody keeps putting a camera in your face?
It's not about that. And you and I both know that I could make 1,000 statements right now, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. People will say what they want to say, and it's okay. So do I need to defend that I'm a decent woman? I sure hope I don't. I know I am.
I'd feel angry.
Who do you get angry at? You get angry at the people who are just bombarded by headlines and magazines and TV programs that don't have proper substance. So you can't get angry at them. Can you get angry at the news people for doing it? It's their job, it's some studio, it's what sells. It's just a bizarre thing that's happening in our world today.
There is an art to saying something and letting it land in the room. That woman commands the room much more than the woman who over-explains, overshares. Let people handle their own frustrations. It also adds to the mystique anyway. That is why you will see the most iconic woman, even though they don't do anything, like Monica Bellucci, like doesn't do really anything that is so controversial, she was still going to be talked about in gossip and all of that. Like, let them misunderstand you. It adds to your mystique. I remember once I was dealing with a lot of negative comments, and my dad is like, bad press is always good press. And I was like, thank you, Dad. I needed that. So from here on, try to practice saying your point once. You don't need to soften it. Just be very clear and effective with your communication. You don't need to necessarily expand on it or check if people received it correctly. That is not your job. Their reaction is not your job. This is what I've learned from improv class. People being offended, it's on them. It's not on you. Of course, I'm not condoning to be a rude person, but when someone is offended, that is their job to handle the feeling of being offended. Like, if you think about it, you've probably been offended many, many times in your life. Who is there to deal with it? Like, who's going to deal with it other than me? I'm the one who's going to deal with it, not this other person. So it's the same. If you say something that it is true, if it offends someone, let them deal with it. That is okay. That is literally their job to handle. I know some of you watching right now are probably people pleasers. Let's practice this, okay? Say one thing, let it land, let them receive it or not. That is not your duty. Number 3, and this is so underrated, is to be selective with your presence and to know when to leave a conversation. A lot of the time, we feel guilty for leaving too early. We feel like we need to overstay, to overextend, to continue the conversation. Even if you feel like the conversation is dying, you feel like, okay, I'm just gonna ask more questions. I'm gonna try to make it more interesting, or I'm gonna stay until the vibe is completely off. But the art to leaving a conversation early is just something that nobody talks about. Instead of draining yourself and everybody else around you, honestly, by overstaying, simply leave when you feel that the conversation in the room is still warm. That is how you will be remembered. The woman who leaves at the peak is remembered differently because now you signal like you actually have places to be. Like, I have not only this, that is the most important thing in my life. And places to be doesn't necessarily mean like you have a class or whatever. Sometimes that place is internal. Sometimes that place is that inner refuge. It's like, okay, after a certain point, like I need to come back to myself. And that is so attractive, honestly. When you're in a date that is going incredibly well, the conversation is flowing, the energy is just there. You check the time and you realize it's 9:30 and you say to your date, I have an early morning tomorrow. I really have to be home right now, but I really enjoyed this date so far. When you leave at that peak moment, the man will be slightly dissatisfied, maybe frustrated. He will ask you questions like, oh, are you sure? Like, you don't want to stay back another 30 minutes? That is literally your cue to say, no, I have to be somewhere else. Like, now you already captivated his interest. And again, ladies, this comes from building a life that you are disciplined about. You know, you have places to be in. Your life does not revolve around this man. If you compare that with a 4 to 6 hour day and you tell each other everything, you confess everything, you realize that that person will lose interest much quicker than if you just leave room for more intrigue. Leave before the story is over. Always. Another thing about this point is to be very selective with where you want to spend your time in and which rooms that you want to be in. You don't need to be everywhere. I just want to remind you that when you are very selective with your presence and the rooms that you want to be part of, you will have more energy for the people and for the things and causes that matter the most to you. You don't need to be everywhere. You will literally be spread thin and your energy will be low, and that is how people will remember you. But if you're intentional about the spaces that you spend your time in, maybe it's a small group of friends, maybe it's your salsa nights, you will give your all. You will give your 100% to every single room because you chose the room and you know that it aligns really well with you, the woman that you want to become. So to bring this all together, build a life that you don't need to announce, build a life that you absolutely love. Say less and mean it. Know where you want to spend your time in, when to leave. There's an art to knowing when to leave. This is what I want from you, and I will end it with this. As women of God, as daughters of God, you're already validated by the one and true only King. You're validated by God already. Stop seeking recognition from the world, whether it be on social media, feeling the need to document every single thing, or even in dating and business, all of that. Like, that is not where your validation comes from. Build that inner space so strongly, and you will see that allure, that mystique, that mystery comes naturally. If this video added something to your life, a new knowledge, a new inspiration, please subscribe to Mademoiselle Diaries. You can also join our membership for women who are like-minded. It's called Mademoiselle Society. Everything is in the link in the bio. Cheering you on from afar, even if I don't know you, know that I'm cheering you on, and I'm so proud of you. See you guys. Mwah.